legions of people all over the world are saying, wait a minute, enough is enough. We have to start accepting responsibility for our earthly condition, and we have to do something to save this planet and turn our lives around. The fact that this awareness is awakening in the hearts and minds of the masses is not a coincidence. I know that during this unique moment on Earth, you are experiencing the gamut of trials and tribulations. In truth, we are all standing on the threshold of the greatest leap in consciousness ever experienced in any system of worlds. And I hope that sinks into you. The greatest leap in consciousness ever experienced in any system of worlds in the universal history. That's where we're standing on right now, today, this day. Everything we need to shift our perception and adjust our awareness is in place. That may seem like a monumental task in the face of our earthly challenges, but it is nothing more than a slight adjustment in our awareness. That's all it is. It's just a slight adjustment in your awareness. Contrary to all outer appearances, we are succeeding. Keep focused on that inner knowing, and the truth will set you free. Humanity had proved our willingness to once again accept responsibility as stewards of the earth. The year 1995 ushered in the final stages of our redemption process and paved the way for the tangible, physical manifestation of heaven on earth, and that is because we reached critical mass. Okay, so here's up to date now. The earth is actually becoming a sun herself in her ascended state. As amazing as that seems, that is exactly what is happening. We are moving into a higher rate of vibration that will express itself on Earth as a solar reality. When all the other planets moved into the fourth dimension, the Earth was the only one who stayed behind to transmute the laggard souls who otherwise would have been left behind. Now, however, the divine fiat has been issued, and it is time for this prodigal, wayward planet to return home to the embrace of our Father, Mother, God. This particular moment was chosen by the Godhead because our godparents knew we were going to need supernatural divine intervention in order for us to make that shift. You see, we are not only ascending into the fourth dimension, we are also ascending with the rest of our solar system into the fifth dimension, which is a solar reality. Never has a planet moved through two-dimensional quantum leaps in energy, vibration, and consciousness in the short allotted time allowed for Earth. So because Earth stayed behind, it's not just going up one evolution into the fourth, it's going to actually go fourth, fifth, bim, bim, and be caught up with everyone else, all the other planets. We'll be able to see life on all the other planets.
Interstellar travel.
Right. One of the most powerful and fascinating phenomenon assisting us during our ascension process is known as the photon belt. How many people here have heard of the photon belt? A lot of people have heard of it, but even I learned so much more doing this little research here. The photon belt is the force field of light that the prophets of old foresaw when they described the celestial event they called the rapture, as I said. It is a cosmic cloud of photon energy. Some people are saying that this force field of energy will flip the poles and destroy all life on Earth. Others are professing that it will instantaneously transform the Earth into a planet of perpetual light and eternal peace. First of all, we need to understand what the photon belt really is. And as I said, there's a 24,000-year orbit our solar system is on that takes us counterclockwise through the heavens in what we call the precession of the equinox. And I was going to read you about the Pleiades, but I already talked about that. So there are more than 6 suns whose movements this central star Alcyone controls. That's in the center of the photon belt. This photon belt goes like this. Our solar system and all the planets go like this. Our Earth started clipping into it as our Earth is spinning. Everything is spinning in little orbits. Our Earth was spinning, and around our solar system, around our sun, the whole solar system was getting closer to the photon belt. But when the Earth itself first spun into it was in 1987 for 2 weeks. Then every year from then on, it spun into it for 2 weeks longer as we went deeper towards it. 1 week more in the end, 1 week more in the beginning. In June of 1998, the sun itself clipped into the photon belt. And from then on, the sun was in the photon belt. And the Earth was in it 6 months and out of it 6 months. What happens yesterday is that the Earth is now 100% in the photon belt. This is why the Mayan calendar had its end date as December 21st, because of clipping into the photon belt. The whole point of the Mayan calendar was this photon belt and the cycle we were on and when we were going to enter it. The photon belt extends hundreds of light years into space. Each planetary sun will pass through this photon disk twice, once here at this side, and then goes 11,000 years out, and then once again over here, and then 11,000 years out. Our sun passes through the photon belt every 11,000 years. While passing through these light particles, every molecule on Earth will be dramatically affected. They are vibrating at a faster frequency. That is scientific fact. If matter is going to travel into something vibrating at higher frequencies, it will be affected. This is what we just entered yesterday. While passing, and that's why also some people are becoming awakened and more aware and more conscious, because those light waves from the photon belt keep bathing us every time we rotated into it, and it activated whoever was ready to be activated based on the foods you were eating and your mindset. But a lot has to do with the food you were eating. So while passing through these light particles, every molecule on Earth will be dramatically affected. The atoms contained within all manifest form will be accelerated to a higher frequency of vibration. This will incalculably enhance our ascension process. It will allow us to easily move into our light bodies, thus making tremendous evolutionary strides forward at an atomic cellular level. As awesome as this seems, and I'm almost done, by the way. As awesome as this seems, this incredible acceleration of light will also amplify the healing that is taking place as we reweave our 12 strands of DNA and reconnect the circuitry that will enable us to communicate with all of the various dimensions of perfection. This process will gradually restore us to full consciousness instead of just 5% of this hemisphere and 5% of that hemisphere. It will allow us to reawaken the 90% of our brains that fell into dormancy when we short-circuited our DNA strands, which, has to do with telepathic communication, which people do have already on this planet, but this will enable masses to reawaken. The light particles in the photon belt will also give us a major boost up the spiral of evolution and assist us into the frequencies of the fifth dimension. The photon belt is the fifth dimension. Actually, what they say is it's fourth and fifth, but on the other side is infinite levels once we cross through it. The prophecies of old, including Revelations, the book of Revelations, described this event in terminology that could be understood by the masses in ancient times. They could never have talked about this photon belt back then. They also had to be told the horror of what would happen if they didn't redeem themselves and repent. Only through that fear would our egos put forth the necessary effort to correct their recalcitrant behavior. For us to just sit around and wring our hands in despair, waiting for Armageddon, so Jesus will come and save the good people and destroy the bad people, is a gross error in judgment. The negativity surfacing on Earth is Armageddon. We are now moving into the light, and our victory in the light is assured. 2012 is about beginnings and endings. There's one thing I just wanted to tell you about what happens. Okay, here it is. In the past, we didn't understand about electromagnetic fields. And when we're in the photon belt, which is a natural part of our earthly experience that occurs every 10,000 years and lasts for approximately 2,000 years, some indigenous legends call it the 10,000 years of darkness and 2,000 years of light. That is what we are now entering. During the 10,000 years that we are not in the photon belt, we have both day and night. During the 2,000 years that we are in the photon belt, we experience a different phenomenon. The photon light particles affect the atoms and molecules on Earth in a way that causes them to emit their own light. This is similar to the way cosmic radiation particles light up the ionosphere, producing the northern lights. So we're going to start seeing that kind of thing, which has already started coming down as far as Texas and, far from the north. We are now entering the fringes of the photon belt at this very moment, and we are experiencing the first frequencies of light particles. This is causing a few challenges with our electromagnetic fields, and people all over the world are reporting unexplained electrical blackouts. This will elevate energies to a higher frequency, which will gradually bring all electrical fields into harmony so that they will be compatible with the photon belt. Because if you're not compatible with the photon belt, things can happen. And in the past, our consciousness after the fall was such that our experiences of the photon belt were always horrendous. That is why people are proclaiming the end time where God would destroy the earth with fire and brimstone. Because entering the photon belt, as I said, is similar to the space shuttle's re-entry into the atmosphere of Earth because of the null zone that surrounds it. When the Earth fell into extreme frequencies of discord in the past, our passage into the photon belt became a very traumatic jolt. As we passed through the null zone of the photon belt, which takes approximately 72 hours, so we're in the 48-hour second day. Tomorrow will be the end of the 72 hours. We're in the null zone right now. The Earth experienced very tumultuous conditions in the past. So, as I said, we're in it right now. How is everybody doing? Okay, we're not disconnecting ourselves. All of the extreme challenges the Earth has experienced can probably be traced back to our various re-entries into the photon belt. The flipping of the poles in the past, instant ice ages, the disappearance of the dinosaurs, the timing of the sinking of Lemuria and Atlantis, falling off the spiral of evolution onto the wheel of karma, and the disappearances of vast civilizations were always because they hit that null zone and they just couldn't handle it. When the sun, as I said, entered the null zone in 1998, and the whole point of this whole time has been trying to get humanity's vibration and frequency levels up to a level that would not happen to us when we hit this photon belt. They knew it was coming 2,000 years ago, 5,000 years ago, the Mayans knew it. Jesus came to help us increase our vibration and frequency so we would survive it this time. And actually elevate our frequencies into the fifth dimension, evolve, and not just, black out. So the concept of the rapture indicates that if people are living lives of love, harmony, and balance, they will be able to pass into the photon light particles unscathed, and they will be raised up into the air. The goal of our Father, Mother, God, and the entire company of heaven has always been for humanity to awaken and regain our direction before we reach the null zone of the photon belt, this time, so that all life on Earth could ascend into the fifth dimension with the rest of our solar system. Every single plan that has been implemented on Earth was designed to prod and prompt humanity to return to the path of divine love that would permanently raise the Earth's vibration into a compatible frequency with that null zone of the photon belt. And literally, love is what makes the difference. And it says this may not sound very scientific, but actually it is. Because love is the cohesive power of the universe, and there is no particle of life that can resist its call. Love is an unparalleled frequency of harmony. Therefore, plans were set into motion time and again by the powers on high to flood the consciousness of humanity with the urgent need to bathe the planet with the vibratory frequency of love. And apparently, we have succeeded. Yeah. And that ends my talk. I actually have more, but I think that's all you can handle, right? I'm going to take a break. I was going to just tell you, though, to help yourselves, because it's an individual process we each have to go through. If you are having relationships that you've been in for years that are just not working, now is actually a time when you are supposed to let go of those relationships to help yourself, manifest heaven on earth. You're not going to manifest heaven on earth if you're hanging on to someone who is just dragging your energy.